Anyway, the point is that John is writing a generation later because everybody was so jaded. Why hasn't he come yet? I mean, you can see it happening earlier than that. You can see Jude writing to remind the scoffers that, this is still a trial and we're not mature and everybody's falling away. You can see it in 1 John, especially in 1 John chapters 2 through 4, because John's trying to explain that to you, but that's even later. In Peter, that's why I wonder if Peter wasn't written like after 70 AD. Peter, 2 Peter, the last half of it is like, God's not slow. All right, people were saying, well, he's too slow, he's behind schedule. Maybe this whole thing's a lie. All right, maybe we've been lied to. You know how that feels. And Peter's answering that, so I'm beginning to wonder if maybe 2 Peter wasn't written after 70 AD. I don't have real hard proof of it yet. I've not researched it enough. But he's talking about Paul in the past tense, and he's talking about God is not slow. Well, it wouldn't have been an issue prior to the temple's destruction, because that was when it should have occurred. Okay, when the temple was destroyed in 70 AD, that was the new expected deadline for what we call the rapture. They had different nomenclature for it. So, everything that Paul had said, everything that Peter had said, didn't seem like it was true anymore, and that's why you see John write the way he does in 1 John 2, if he should appear. It was imminent then, because it's always imminent with every generation. And he's writing to the 3rd generation after the cross. All right? And they were so negative that, John closes out canon with Revelation to show you through the end of history. That's how you know it's the last book of the canon, because it's a quadrilogy, a Greek quadrilogy, that covers church in chapters 1 through 3. Chapter 4, verse 1 is the rapture. It's got 2 metatauta clauses that show you a door opening and a door closing. John uses metatauta to track the time for you. It's usually translated after these things in English or after this in Revelation. So that's how you can track it. So John's dividing the time. So he's showing you time 1 of the Gentiles is chapter 1 through 3. And, you have the 7 prototype churches, which were real churches at that time, but their problems would be the historical trends that would go on throughout church. And the Revelation 4:1 is the actual rapture, John representing church up in heaven from that point forward. That's why you don't see church talked about in the rest of Revelation until the epilogue in 6 through 21. So, and then you got the interjections, and that's a dramatic device. John is writing this again as a Greek quadrilogy. So you had this thing called an interjection where somebody would interject something to the audience while something else is going on stage. All right, so that's why this is, it's a dual story being told in Revelation. Because there's 2 legs, because there's 2 tribulations. There is still the Jewish tribulation, which hasn't played yet because church has to bridge back to it. So Revelation 1 through 3 through 4:1 is telling you that bridge is actually going to get built. And then from 4 onward, it's a dual entendre, which the preterists pick up on one part of it. They pick up on the fact that Revelation 6 through 19 are trans. But they mistake the idea that it's over. And of course some of them are amillennial too, because they don't understand God's accounting for time. But they're right to say, the preterists are right, with their one leg of theology, to say that the church is in, that the tribulation is basically characterizing church. Or, they'll allegorize tribulation because they think the tribulation can only be a 7-year period. No, that's not what it says. Daniel 9:26 is depicting a time of the Jews being out, no temple built. Okay, and the temple in Revelation 11 is sarcastic. Go look at the language. Okay. So they're right to say that church is characterized by the trends depicted in Revelation, but the actual literal fulfillment of those things in a 7-year period, we got 1/3 of the people dying and all those, specifics, 144,000, that's all part of the Jewish tribulation. So you got 2 times of the Gentiles, all right? You got the 7-year tribulation, which is owed the Jews, but it's taking place when the Gentiles control the land. So it's not part of the Jewish covenant. All right? That's real important to understand. The Jewish law, all right, covered the Old Testament. There is an upgrade that occurs with church. Well, that upgrade, like I said in the beginning, when you have a contract failure, the parts that fail have to thread through to the new contract. So in the tribulation, there's no client nation, so to speak, of Israel. There are Jews. There are the promises to Jews individually. But there's no covenanted nation Israel during those 7 years. That's why they're called the times of the Gentiles by the Lord. Because they are times of the Gentiles. We're one of them. That 7-year official tribulation is another. Because the Jews rejected Christ. All right? Then Christ comes back at the end of the 7 years. The rapture having kicked it off. Christ comes back at the end of the 7 years to institute world government under, with Israel as the queen nation of the world for the 1,000 years, because he's Messiah. And at that point, they will accept him. There will be enough Jews to accept him. And that's why you see this sort of dual entendre rollout. Now, understand something. All prophecy in the Bible is always dual entendre. Everything is two-legged in the Bible. And whenever you got a theology that gets hotly debated and the debate doesn't go away, it's because somebody's arguing from one leg. And it's always two-legged. It's always dual entendre. Like it says, I want to say it's in Revelation 19:10. The Lord is the cause of prophecy. He is the spirit, so to speak, of prophecy. It's kind of a dual entendre statement. He's God-man. See, everything is dual for that reason. It's always reflecting him in Father's eyes, because the Father, isotropic property of the universe, Father wants to see Christ everywhere he looks. So everything is dual. All right? And so we have 2 times of tribulation. Ours is the prosperity side, the soft side. It kills you more. Okay, I mean, if you and I were seeing angels, like, what was it, Revelation 14, last half of the tribulation, angels are flying in the air telling you the gospel. Well, if you and I saw that every day at high noon, we'd believe in Christ too. So their time is actually easier than ours. Ours is a very, how do you want to put it? Ease makes it easier to say no. So ours is really harder. And we have a higher goal. And it's sudden death. So that's the essential idea. So when you think of preterism, if you're anti-preterism, don't be. Just understand that they got one part of the answer. And if you're anti-dispensational, don't be. They got the other part of the answer. Join the two together. All right? Because the first 7 is due to Christ dying 7 years early. That played from 64 to 70 AD. And then the preterist looks at that and says, fulfilled. Yes, that part was fulfilled. But the second 7 in Daniel 9:27 hasn't played yet. And that's where the Dispy's got the answer. So add up preterism and Dispy. Think of it, I guess, I don't know what analogy works for you. 2 sides of a coin, or 2 coins, or a double, I can't get this to work on camera, a double layer building. Okay? They're both right. All right? One is talking about the future. One is talking about the immediate outcome to church. And they're both right. The preterist is ignoring the fact that there's a second 7, and that's because they don't know about the accounting from Adam. And the Dispy is wrong because he's thinking it's all future. And it's not. There are 2 tribulations, just like the Lord said. The times of the Gentiles. 2. Okay? So I hope this helps. Sorry it took so long.